Welcome, everybody. We are back for episode 59 of The Lookout. Of course, I am Meelz.
Yeah.
I'm here with the Platinum Chanel boy himself, Jeff.
What's going on, man?
Behind me, as you could say, maybe featuring on the show. I don't know if you can hear us. I don't know if the mic will pick it up, of them continuing to do construction, and it's after 5 p.m. and it's on a Friday, and they're just getting busy.
Strange for you,
construction. Right? It's very strange, considering I'm legitimately the one who flies out of work at the drop of like whatever the time is I'm supposed to get out of work. So it's very, very interesting for me. First of all, Jeff, I have to get into a few more chronicles from you. You have been going over quite a few different animes since
I've been spazzing.
You've been good. What have you been watching? What have you been reading? What the hell are you getting into?
Well, you already know I'm caught up with My Hero. I did start reading it a little bit after, but I'm not too deep because then I went straight into Dr. Stone, the anime. Cleared off season 1, really enjoyed it. It's a little bit more low key, not a lot of action, so I feel like I needed that because most things that I do watch are fairly violent, but this is like a science class. And then I started reading Dr. Stone right after because I was just in the mood, and I started Fire Force last night. So yeah, I've kind of been bouncing back and forth. I told you and Pat, Pokemon Blue, I kind of just turned that on too, just for like shenanigans, but. Yeah.
Listen, you're making the most of your time. I can't. I've just been trying to finish Haikyuu still, and I'm in the second, and that's exactly what I'm doing.
I hate idle time, man. I hate idle time, dude. So I got.
I feel you. Going. I feel you 100%. If you haven't noticed by the title of this episode yet, we do have a special guest in line. He is no stranger to this podcast. He is no stranger to my life. I talk to him every damn week.
Boss man.
The show. Yes, of course, boss man himself. OG Johnny 5, Justin Davis, sir, how are you doing?
Y'all, it's funny you asking me how I'm doing. You don't ever want to answer that question on the A show.
Well, listen, now you're in my realm, so
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Y'all are bosses in your own right. You guys have the Lookout. You guys are young bosses, and I'm so proud. And I know this is like not the time, but I'm so proud to see like what the Lookout has become. And it is literally like, I just love to see what you guys put out. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. We're assembling a team of great, I don't know, what was the Power Rangers thing of like teenagers with
attitudes.
With attitudes. There we go. You can really tell that they're inspired. Maybe they're inspired by NWA. I don't know. But yes, we're assembling a crew of teenagers with attitudes to continue to bring you the best anime content. Make sure you follow the Lookout RNC. Make sure you follow RNC Radio Live to get a lot of news that you get on the Lookout and everything of that. So we bring Justin on this podcast because last season, I mean, we talked about it on the time that we called you like a couple episodes ago, randomly out of the blue, but we talked about it. Justin said, he brought up to us in the chat once, and he was like, I forgot if he said, what is My Hero Academia and will I like it? That's probably the gist of it.
That's when it started. Yeah, that's when it all happened.
To which Jeff and I 100% said no. It was like, no, you will not like it. And
it's not something I would have just recommended. I still
all right. It works. So here's the thing. The reason you like it is because we said you're not going to like it.
No,
I feel like it's 60% that. At least 60%.
No, because you know what? You can ask my girlfriend who has seen me watching every single episode down the line with like the first couple of weeks of quarantine. I went crazy on My Hero Academia. I would not do that if that is something I did not want to watch. Trust me.
I thought the first season would turn you away. The first like 7-8 episodes usually turn people away because the main protagonist is kind of a biatch. But once you get past that and you get into the action part and you start really getting into it, you'd be like, oh, this show's not half bad, and actually it's pretty good.
It is. It's very good. It's very good.
What has been your thoughts on My Hero Academia and everything? Well, what have you watched up to? Maybe that's a question.
I watched up to the beginning of season 4. I got sidetracked, unfortunately, with other things happening and other shows that I've been watching. I'm gonna get back to it right after we finish this show. I was actually starting season 4 as we after I finish these episodes we watched for this episode. I started season 4, so once I get through that, I'll be completely caught up. So.
Oh, amazing. And all right, so now I have to ask you another question. So one of the excitement surrounding the series, and I think Jeff will experience this incredibly soon, is also the manga. Are you interested in any depth of your soul, in any fiber of your being, of reading manga?
Man, I mean, I have the powers of, and shout out to Black Variant X and Van. I have the graphic novel of House of X, Powers of X, and I've only gotten through 20 pages of it, and I bought that in April.
Right. That's a good answer.
I'm not gonna say that I won't. Manga is something I've never gotten into.
Yeah.
No. I'm just saying manga is not something I ever got into. The whole like, I love the idea of reading something backwards. I think that's really a novel thing.
right.
I know that's like, it's novel to us, but it's normal to people in Japan and Asian countries. But it's cool. But I think that I'm more of like I'll watch the movie before I read the book guy, because I was so into comic books when I was a kid. So like when you see like these comic book movies, a lot of them were adapted from stories that I was reading when I was a teenager. But when it starts getting caught up, it's this new stuff. I'm like, I'm lost with.
No, I completely understand. I legitimately think in my intro, it's either Dragon Ball or it is either My Hero Academia. Honestly, it might be My Hero, because the fact that I got into it by the time season 3 ended, and by the time season 3 ended, I was like, "Fuck!" We got until it was October 2019 that season 4 was, eventually going to air. They told us the previous year. It was like, oh shit, I got like 10 months before this shit starts up again. So I decided I couldn't wait, and I needed to read the manga. And to be honest with you, I wasn't disappointed. I believe, more so, I understand people who don't read the manga and watch the anime, because I'm going through that currently with a manga called Jujutsu Kaisen. Where I'm just like, I'm not fully understanding or like absorbing everything.
I understood what you meant, by the way.
Yeah, I get the gist of it, but the show is about to, the anime itself is about to begin in a couple of months. I think I'm going to stop here and just wait for things visually to pop out and give me the context I need to jump back into maybe the manga reading. But
I'm basically with you, because Jamal kind of hit me with the same thing, and 15 some odd pages in, and I'm kind of like, I really just want to watch this.
Yeah. It's tough. I gotta commend Jamal for even being able to have the patience to do that with everything he has going on.
For real.
I guess I would read on the toilet. I think does he have to poop a lot?
I'm sure he gets it done.
I read, the only reason I read, and I haven't read a lot of manga lately, is because I read on the train. My commute to work is an hour long.
Yeah.
So I'm able to get it in while I do that. But I think I was on vacation when I did My Hero Academia. Either way, what I have to say is the manga is incredible. It just is. Like, you get wrapped up in it. You get the stuff that's coming up next. They haven't announced when season 5 is dropping, but they know there is a season 5 that's dropping. But season 5 might be the best season of the show that we get, period, because of just how everything advances and the plot kind of like starts to switch, and everything from season 4 is it kind of begins. I mean, everything kind of begins in this season with the kind of rolling out of like how everything shifts and society shifts, which is one of the great things about the show, is because it's so much of an encompassing world. It's not, we talked about it last week with Skip, shout out to Skip, that the difference between this show and like a Dragon Ball Z is Dragon Ball Z, everything kind of affects these same 12 characters. And maybe there's like 3 more characters that come in. Whereas this show, things that affect, there's one monumental moment that affects the entire world, and it affects society, and it affects the students, and it affects, and everyone kind of has to react to that in a certain way, and they make no qualms in kind of like, addressing it in various ways. What are the reasons why you really like this show?
And I think I might have touched on this when you asked, but I think what I love about My Hero is that it's so earnest and it's so honest with what it is. There's so many animes really that are and especially within the show. This would be considered shonen class, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's shonen.
Yeah, so like so many within that where it's like, you know, you have the same tropes and there's always the ulterior motive and it's always very dark and brooding. This is about people, and especially just think about the world we live in today. It's about people that want to be good, that want to help people, that want to come together. And if you're not with that, you are not seen as a good guy. It's telling the good versus evil story in a way that's like very adaptable to what's going on in our own society. And I think why I caught on to it and attached to it so much during this time, and especially now, is because that theme resonates. It's being good enough to help everyone. It's being good enough to help your family. It's being good enough to feed your family. And that is something that, you know, it really resonates with me, and it resonated with me. And, you know, for someone who fell off anime because they were doing the same thing over and over again, this really caught on to me because it's not about power level, even though they're really cool. So it's about that. It's about all of these young people trying to do the best that they can to be good people.
Yeah, that's it, really. Like that's their only issue.
Yeah,
right. No, 100%. I'm glad you touched on that. I think from here we can kind of begin discussing this batch of episodes because it is quite an arduous journey. I mean, we're talking about 6 episodes 20 through 25, and it's essentially the finals of the sports festival. We've gone through the obstacle race before, and we did that, and Deku's the winner there. And then last episode, to skip, we went through the cavalry race. It was drama-filled craziness, and then I guess it was Team Todoroki. Yes, Team Todoroki who managed to come out on top in that one. But none of those really mattered. It kind of just ended up qualifying the top, 16. Not to say that it doesn't matter. I guess people look. The idea for this tournament is like for branding purposes and exposure and all this other stuff that you don't really, I guess most other animes would consider like vain or something along those lines, like exposure, money, but it's a vain world. I think that's kind of one of the things that is adapted to, this world and that world, not vain as in like completely evil, but it's like, okay, we're realistically speaking, these heroes have to make money and they have to be popular. And
they do a good job making sure, they let you know what's important to the actual characters, and it's not just like they're not just doing this or risking their bodies for nothing. You know what I mean? Like this is why.
I love the business aspect of it. I didn't. That's one thing that I didn't expect, and I think that you guys didn't warn me about was that there is a business aspect to the superhero thing that kind of goes again hand in hand with reality. It's that we idolize these celebrities. When in the behind that they have all types of masters that they have to serve, whether monetarily or PR wise. And I thought that was a really cool way to put that. Like if there was a world of superheroes, who would they serve?
Exactly. Right. We barely get that watching Marvel movies. You don't really like. There's no rules really. It's like what money are they making or what is their lifestyle like?
Right.
No, you're right. But with that said, let's get to the tournament because it's quite a bit of a tournament. There's a few. I'll say this: we're gonna highlight the kind of more important battles, and then we're gonna kind of like skip through and maybe laugh at some of the obvious. I want to say comic relief. Yeah, it's Kaminari. Come on. Like, we'll get through this, but I think the first one is a very important one. They managed to kick it off completely right. Wow. Okay. Well, the sounds of New York are behind me. A lot of New York.
This is important. This isn't a workout without it. So.
We have Shinso versus Deku. Deku obviously paired up with Shinso. We finally learned what Shinso's actual quirk is, which ends up being brainwashing, which is the wildest quirk. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, you'd be such a cool villain." Like, honestly.
I was texting Meelz watching this episode. Now, first of all, I was like, I mean, it's a cool power, but the things that he has to do to activate it are a little strange. But it makes sense, obviously, or he would be completely OP. But I think like they put the camera on him a lot, and although it's not really that much screen time for him, like just overall, I do think that it's a lot of foreshadowing. I'm sure, I don't know if he's already come up in the manga for something more important, but like I feel like he's definitely going to be some type of scapegoat for the villains later on, because that power is too good.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Shinso J5?
I thought the brainwashing. I love. Let me say this. Like, I love the fact that all of these heroes in this show are parallels to like X-Men. Yeah. Like, I think that is just like such a cool, like, there are some, and I love that the sports festival shows us like there are some powers that are obviously better than others, and some that work a lot better than others. I think Shinso's his perk is kind of like really cool in the way that it's like completely something that we would have expected, but I also feel like it's like it has the potential to be OP, and I don't think they really like touch on that much.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, they don't. I think eventually, I mean, towards the end of the battle when he loses, they kind of see like, oh, everyone kind of recognizes the potential he had. It's like, oh, it's a shame he don't have no hands. Like, if he had hands, it'd be
like, learn how to fight, man. Like,
you'd be 10 out of 10, but you know, that quirk itself is just incredible. Like all this other stuff like that.
Yeah,
but like if it was Charles Xavier, he wouldn't even have needed hands. He would have just made you hit yourself.
Yeah, that's true. That's 100% true. But then again, I mean, that's still the development, right? Like we're starting off in the early stages where these kids are still, they know they have special powers and they know that they're special, but they don't really kind of know how to utilize them. And that's kind of what UA does. Shinso of the general academics course, he enters in the general academics because he went for the hero thing, but because he had no hands, he legitimately could not pass the practical exam. Like I guess he got washed by the robots. I don't know.
Robots can't
so
talk.
He couldn't pass. Yeah, I mean, artificial life forms. Like, it's what is he going to do? So he was put in. He also applied for the general courses, so he's in general, hoping to one day get into Class 1A, Class 1B, or I think that's kind of it. He off rip brainwashes Deku. Deku,
of course,
Deku was warned about it beforehand. But you know, Deku is going to Deku. Like he's going to Deku. He's going to tell you that honestly, I feel like he's going to do that. Deku's going to Deku. And
why do you hate him? Why do you hate him so much?
I don't hate Deku. I just think that I actually don't hate Deku. I don't hate him at all.
He's literally Cyrus says something on the timeline about shonen protagonists. And I mean, it was aggressive. Don't get me wrong, but like he's absolutely right. You know, they have all the potential in the world. You know, but they're crybabies, and morals are like number one, no matter what, even if it kills them. You know what I'm saying? So
a lot of things are sacrificed for sure.
Yes, like, it just is what it is. You know.
So yes, that's why until we talk about a show that is not a shonen, Cyrus will probably be like, I'm not watching that shit.
Yeah. Well, you know, preference, man. It's all preference.
Oh, but shout out to Cyrus nonetheless. So he does that, he gets brainwashed. All Shinso has to do is tell him is like, now walk out the ring. And he's walking, and it's this very dramatic scene where he's like, obviously Deku's my mind is like, I can't control anything that's going on. This is so crazy. Like he's the only one who has had like self-thought through this entire thing. But then he sees these ghosts kind of or these shadows rather in the distance, and one of them is All Might, and he sees these, you know, these 8 or 9 shadows, and he comes to the thing where it's like, oh, these must be. I mean, he learns all after the fact that these are the, you know, the spirits of the prior holders of All for One, and they're kind of like a piece of them is like within the power of One for All, which has been passed down for quite a few times already. So it's
nice foreshadowing, not really nice foreshadowing because we won't actually get a hint into what that is until way later.
Right.
Yeah.
And the shadows are cool. We probably won't even see. I don't know if we ever get to see, you know, all the previous users, but yeah, it was cool. I thought it also, I mean, he kind of, the fact that he broke out of it because of it, I thought that was like, I don't know, it kind of ruins the mind control to me. Like I was like, well, if that's all it takes, I mean, you gotta have some
He's still a teenager.
I feel like he cheated. No, I feel like it was kind of
cheap. Like, man, I don't know. Like, where'd that come from? Like,
I was like, where did that? Who activated it? If you can't activate it, then who did?
I mean, like, I get it, but
yeah, I mean, not all of us have spirits within us, activating our quirks for us when we're in a time of hurt. Either way, activating.
Y'all be letting y'all let Goku get away with this shit.
All Might
Deku get away. All Might cheats for Deku all the time. So I'm cool with that.
We talked about last.
Hey, Goku gets a lot of bars though. We don't hold back on his ass.
Yeah, All Might is not a great teacher, but an incredible cheerleader itself. Yeah. Because of all these things that happened to Deku in this tournament, he is clear. He is more concerned with Deku learning his power instead of the fact that, like, yo, realize this kid is a high school freshman and his body is not built for this like your body is. So he's breaking his fingers. So you guys are going to have to learn how to figure that out eventually. But he breaks his fingers to snap out of the trance. Shinso is shocked. He tries to press him real quick. He's just like, yo, hold up. Wait a minute. And then Deku hits him with the illest of the judo flips. I don't know, somewhere. Actually on like concrete. I was like,
concrete. Well, you're hurt, man.
And that just goes to show just how important it is to actually have hands in this, because these are still like 13, 14-year-olds. Like, if you slam me on concrete, I'm done. I'm not getting back up.
No. I mean, these guys have bombs in their hands. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you better know how to defend yourself.
I mean, the combat is incredibly important to be able. Even the heroes who don't have a necessarily like a fighting style quirk, like a Bakugou or Todoroki or something along those lines, you have to learn how to fight. You know, we're gonna get to another one towards the end of this where you just have to learn how to fight. Let's see. How do I want to do this? There is. You know what? We'll kind of, once we get to Todoroki versus Deku, we'll do all the Todoroki pass drama, family thing all at once, because it all builds up to that
foul stuff.
Yes, it all builds up to that moment anyway. But there is a moment between Todoroki and Endeavor where it was like, yes, use your fire side. And
my son, this is why I had sex with your mom.
Yeah,
unusually emotional stuff there too. So yeah, he should have his own section.
Yeah, 100%. But with that, Todoroki faces Sero. I had to preface that with the meeting at first, because what Todoroki does against Sero is a direct effect of the conversation he has with Endeavor. In fact, Endeavor wants him to use his fire side so much that he's just like, I'm going to show you how much my eyesight actually rocks and how I'll never fucking use your fire side, and nearly kills Sero. Tape elbows.
Yeah, like, calm down.
He nearly kills him with a massive block of ice, like a overkill, like just to the point. And I think he kind of realizes what he does, and it's just like, it's crazy.
Do y'all believe in tape elbows? That is like the wackest.
I'm not a fan.
So,
but he comes clutch.
Yeah, you can capture. You can swing from trees. You can. It's got potential, but it's also like you're clearly there for like capture and relief and stuff.
Yeah,
like that. Like,
you're not turning the tide when shit gets real.
But here's the thing. Like, you looked at. We see a little bit later, like actually you see him in this episode. It's the tree guy. What was it, Kamui Woods or something along those lines? Like, he's someone who's like, his quirk is also like, yo, branches from my arms.
Right.
That's how it does. And he just captures people, and that's kind of it. But he's a top 10 hero nonetheless. So I don't know. There's hope for tape elbows, is what I'll say.
Are we to believe this is like Scotch tape, or like?
It's got to be something extremely strong. It's got to be better than Scotch.
It's got to be. It would be great if he developed various different types of tape. I'm talking about electrical tape. It comes out of one elbow, and maybe duct tape. Yeah, something. Maybe, he'll evolve past then. Next up, I don't want to say they're comic relief kind of battles, but Kaminari. Kaminari, he faces Shiozaki of Class 1B. Shiozaki has vines in her hair, and her hair is made out of vines. She's a grass-type Pokemon, essentially.
Basically.
against an electric type Kaminari who's like, yo, she got a cute. I might have to ask her out after I beat her. He goes like full 1 million volts thunderbolt, and then she just kind of blocks it and like immediately disposes of him quite quickly. So Kaminari's out.
Cool. She's cool.
Yeah, she's all right. She's cool.
Another example of certain quirks are very good. Yeah. Certain quirks are very bad.
You know what? It's crazy. The quirk thing is like I love Froppy. Like I love Froppy, and like it's a weird like the whole frog thing is like whatever, but like I love the character. It just works. And any other time I wouldn't fuck with anything like that. But
right,
just works.
You're right.
It's weird.
Another hilarious battle. You have Tenya Ida versus Mai Hatsume. Ida is he's been jugged 100% by Mai Hatsume. It was just like, yo, actually, I think I have some equipment for you that would actually improve the way you battle. And then he puts it on and then realizes this isn't a battle. I'm just a fucking mannequin for her all the weird inventions. I love Mai Hatsume.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite characters. Yeah, she's awesome.
Tenya Ida, and he's the one who makes it work, right? He's such a straight and narrow guy, and he's just like, talks with his arms, whatever. But he's such a straight and narrow guy that is like, oh, I never actually figured out like how to use these things, and now he just becomes a puppet essentially. I
haven't respected Ida since season 1.
This is the next episode. He's just gotten all types of shit on this show.
Yeah, I didn't respect his arc. Like, yo, I'm about to turn on you, Bakugou. Yeah, I gotta do this on my own. Like, or no, not Bakugou, Deku. I didn't like that. I didn't like that.
I thought it was strange too. Me and Meelz, we spoke about it. It's just like, all right, man. Like, we get it. Like, you don't have to like approach me like that though. Like, obviously, we're in it for ourselves at this point. But come on, man.
Lame, man. You're really lame. You're really lame.
Let's see. We have Ashiro, Acid Girl, if you're paying attention and don't know these names, versus Aoyama, Naval Laser. You like Aoyama. Let's talk about this. J5, you like Aoyama, right?
Yeah, I bang with him, man. I like the swag of it. You know what I'm saying? Like
the French swag.
He reminds me of Havoc from X-Men. So
okay. That is I never even
that's
thought
a high praise by Aoyama.
That's what I'm saying. He reminds me of Havoc.
Yeah, who realistically in the series never gets. I mean, no, he never really.
Never. This is a weird thing. When that episode where he writes that message for Deku on his porch. I don't even. I know we're not.
Season 4. It's very weird.
It's just like it's a weird episode. J5's gonna love that shit though.
It's a weird episode. It's gonna be like, yo, is he sweet on Deku? Nonetheless, Ashido defeats Aoyama with an uppercut, knocks Aoyama's pants down. Naval Laser, debunked. Needs to work on it. He says he can't hold it for more than a minute without his tummy hurting, which is like.
Makes sense. That song he gotta go doo-doo. He gotta go doo-doo.
That makes sense, to be honest.
Because he's like, oh, my naval laser started dripping out. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Nasty. Tokoyami defeats Yaoyorozu. This was a very surprising battle in the fact that Yaoyorozu, who got into school on recommendation, is the top student in class 1A in terms of academics, is a whole bunch of things. She did not get not even one lick of offense in, and before she knew it, within seconds, she was out of the ring. Tokoyami just kind of hit her with the black, is it black? Dark Shadow. There we go. Dark Shadow.
So
and
cool.
Just kind of like pushed her. And she has a moment there where it's like, yo, my confidence is completely shot now because I didn't even land one hit. Like,
there's a purpose. The purpose is there for it though.
Yeah, 100%. Then you have Tetsu versus Kirishima, the battle of I'm really, the steel guy versus the guy who just makes himself.
Tetsu. Say his full government.
Tetsu.
Thank you.
Versus Kirishima, It lasts forever because both of them are just knocking each other out with their own hardened powers. It's like Metapod versus Metapod, kind of in a way.
That's exactly
hardened.
That's exactly what it is.
Until they both knock it out. My favorite part is Midnight is like, this is so manly. This is so crazy. I was like, why is she so horny?
Wait, was that rated R?
Yes.
Yeah, she's something else.
Yeah, her fit is insane. I was like, why? How do you teach? She's like a full grown teacher too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Kirishima eventually wins his first round after the fact. They get in an arm wrestling contest and he wins. So shout out to Kirishima for more muscles than Tetsutetsu.
Yeah.
Let's get to the main event. This is the final battle of round 1. It is Bakugou versus Ochako. It is one of my favorite battles, kind of, period. I want to say
it's really cool. It's cool.
Like, this is an underrated battle in My Hero, and there's so many battles. I mean, you get to season 3 and there's a major one. Season 4, there's a huge one. Season 2, I mean, you get to the end of this one, there's a big one. But for some reason, Bakugou versus Ochako, for me, at some point, I think my second rewatch of it hit like a nerve because of all the music that was going and the inspiration and all this other stuff. And Bakugou, no one thinking that Ochako could actually win this one.
Yeah, they built it up as if, this is about to be, who wants to watch this? Who wants to watch Bakugou destroy this poor girl? You know what I'm saying? And obviously the fight was not as one-sided as everyone thought. So it was awesome. It was awesome.
And it also showed that, like, there is a way, I keep saying, like, some quirks are better than others, but there's also a way where it's like, if you use your quirk the right way, you can outsmart. And this is the first time you kind of see Ochako kind of like, she outsmarts him in a lot of ways, but we'll talk about it.
No, of course. So it's a battle that starts off. She's offered strategy by Deku. Who's like, I actually have a way to beat, and she's like, no, actually, no. I love the intro thing. Well, there's a whole lot of things. You know what? It's weird because, not weird, but you have these. It's kind of interesting in anime how you make a female character go up against a male character, one especially so dominant as Bakugou, and someone who's kind of as girly as Ochako, and kind of make it make sense. Yeah. And I'm trying to remind myself, when I was watching this, I was trying to remind myself of like the few other women versus man anime fights. And the only one that really kind of came to mind because of how brutal it was Fidel versus Popovich.
That was ugly.
Which I don't think would fly in this generation. But the way they kind of like maneuver this for it to work just makes it ends up kind of portraying a respect that Bakugou has for Ochako, yet you still kind of get the pugnacity and the intensity that Ochako has in this battle and never give up attitude that makes you kind of look past the fact that she's a girl and look past the fact that Bakugou is like Bakugou, and you kind of like see these two warriors kind of facing off.
Yeah, Bakugou definitely, he held back bars, I feel like. Usually I feel like he would be shit talking a lot more.
Yeah.
But yeah, he definitely had respect.
Yeah, and I think it's also two different schools of thought. Like, Bakugou at this point is all about head first, just rushing you. Mm-hmm. And that's how he's won, and that's how he's gotten by. He still doesn't see that that's not the way to go. But Ochako, she has to really, like, outsmart him, but use her quirk in such a way that it will offset the fact that he's going to come at her with everything he's got. And he's like unusually fast. So like, she has to think on her feet.
Right.
So her entire game strategy is, if I can touch him, I can make him float and he's done with. That's just it. So she has to get in, but he's fully aware of that because he's one of the most skilled combatants in actual class. Like he when it comes to actual fighting, hand-to-hand combat, he's a genius compared to most. He doesn't have it in the grades, but he's got it with the hands. So she has to get in extremely close. So that's her strategy. And I love even the first shot. It's like, she's like, oh, I got to get him close. I know he's going to do the haymaker with his left hand because that's how he starts all battles. And he does it anyway. And she's like trying to dodge it, but the power is just too strong. And she just gets caught in it anyway. And I was like, damn, that's so real. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like any other thing, it would have been like, oh, I'm actually behind you. but she eventually does get that. She ends up smart. She throws a jacket, the little and one move. I'm gonna throw my jacket, caught it, and now I'm behind you. And it's like, oh
Very
shit!
cool.
And it's just as closer as he gets a little bit more intense. And here's my favorite part. Here's my favorite part of this entire battle. There's a part where, I mean, he's continuing to like blow, just knock it, just continue to push her back with every explosion. And then one of the heroes is like, bro,
that's my favorite part too.
Oh my God, like he should be ashamed of himself continuing to go this brutality. And then, Professor Aizawa was like, who said that? Point him out.
First of all, it was like extremely sexist. That's one. And he was like, bro, if you're a pro hunter, like get out of here, man. Like
pro hunter. I know where your brains is at.
Oh my God. It's pro hero. Like you're a pro hero. Get out of here. I said hunter. Oh my God. Yeah, but no, it's like, yo, what are you doing? Like, let her do what she's doing. Let her. I mean, because if that was a guy, he wouldn't be shouting that shit out. You already know.
Yeah, no, you're right. Aizawa points him out. He gets on the mic himself. He don't even want to do commentary. He's out here doing with present mic and stuff. He's out here, and then he was like, "Who said that? Which hero was that?" No,
and I love that he brings up the point, which, like, again, we say that, like, the certain women versus men anime fights, they're very few and far between, but I love the point, and you might be actually getting to this right now, but I love the fact that he said that, like, y'all don't even realize that Bakugou is doing everything he can to stop her because he knows that she can end him really quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they just think he's toying with her because she's a girl. You know what I'm saying? That's not the case at all.
Aizawa says, you should drop your pro hero license right now and leave. And
that dude is probably cooked, by the way. Like, I don't know what happened to him after that, but like his job's probably
his quirk is probably trash. With that, everyone's just like, and then you kind of realize it because everyone's looking above, and then they see like a bunch of debris. I mean, the debris that Bakugou's making with these explosions. He doesn't realize that Ochako's kind of like raising it up into the air. And it becomes this incredible moment of like, oh, actually, she had a plan after all. Her plan was to, by any means, do this point to distract him. And he will be so distracted by this blast that he will lose his concentration and I'm going to be able to touch him. There's no way that he can dodge this. There's way too many boulders and shit up in the air. So Ochako uses rock slide. And everything starts dropping down. And she's like, yes, this is my opening. This is it. I'm going to touch him. I'm going to grab him. I'm going to win this. And then Bakugou just blasts everything.
It's the coolest.
In one blast. It's incredible. It is one shot. He one-shots it completely. The impact of the giant blast knocks Ochako way, way, way back. She's not even able to get close to him anymore. It is one of the most impressive things that we've ever seen, just like a sheer power of Bakugou. I like the fact that even by using this, he hints it was like, yo, my arm is like, I need to end this quick because I'm taking way too much.
That shit hurt.
Okay, and I love the nuts and bolts of things, as you guys know. How do you think it feels to get hit with the Bakugou explosion? Is it like a concussion blast? Is it like a punch? Yeah. Or is it like full-on fire?
I feel like he has the ability to, like, I don't know what like dying in this show means quite yet, because we've seen guys take, things to the stomach. I mean, obviously there is a death later on down the line, but like, and that's kind of Bakugou. That's his thing, right? I'm going to kill you. You're going to die. He's not actually being serious. It's just that's more him saying, I'm about to fuck you up, But I don't know. I'm assuming it's just like maybe a little weaker than a grenade type blast, I guess. I don't know. I mean,
because she should be missing arms and legs.
Oh yeah,
that explosion.
Well, 100%. Yes, of course. But I think I don't know. I think it's a general just explosion. Maybe it's the
season one. Remember when he grabbed Deku's arm and did it? I mean, he blew the skin off. But
exactly.
I don't know, man. It's weird.
Because I would like to imagine that at this point he can't fully control what the blast does, and we see that later in an arc with himself well, not to spoil it, but you see that in the arc later on.
Yeah,
and I think you guys know what I'm hinting at. Where he and Deku have to fight someone and survive against someone, and in there you get to see the sheer ferocity of his powers. But here it's like, Ochaka's kind of like, oh shit, that hurt, and then she collapses.
Yeah.
But later on, you see like full clothes being blown off.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Ochako collapses just basically due to exhaustion and overuse of her quirk. It just is. They make a note in the actual sort of episodes to remind that quirks are actual physical abilities, and you can overuse them. And if you overuse them, you will, lose a lot of energy, and you could become exhausted. Bakugou almost went through that right now. Ochako is going through that right now. She passes out, and it's a valiant victory. I like the way that this was booked. To be honest with you, it's a very
great book.
It's a good booking. It's a nice little, makes her look strong.
Yes, there we go.
Makes her look down. But he's also still ultimately Bakugou. So it is what it is.
It didn't kill her. It didn't kill her character. And if anything, if you're watching this for the first time, you probably end up liking her a lot more.
Yeah. No, you're right. Because I garnered a lot more respect for her after this, to be honest with you. My favorite part is a little bit after Bakugou is just like, I know you gave her your little crummy strategies.
He said something to her too. He was like, I knew you're friends with Deku, so I figured you'd come up with some stupid shit to try to, it's like, damn, dude. Like,
okay, maybe this is spoiling. Should I ask you guys after the show or right now? Since someone's season 4.
Let's do it after the show.
Yeah. Okay. Because
let's do it after the show.
Because I'm sorry, I just don't like Bakugou, bro. I just really don't. And he's annoying to me. He's just really annoying to me, bro.
I hear you.
All right, but with that said, let's get into the second round of things. Actually, the second round starts off pretty friggin' dramatic, actually. Now that I look at it, I was like, oh shit, Deku versus Todoroki, we're already here.
Yeah.
They got
the big animation for this one.
Oh yeah, they use all the effects on this shit. I mean, they use a couple more effects in the Bakugou one. Maybe they had some leftover one, but they used all the effects. Deku versus Todoroki.
This up there. This up there. This one of the ones for me. Y'all know I done cried for about a good 10 episodes of this show. This one of the ones.
Everyone's watching. Pros, parents.
I love Todoroki, so
all my Shigaraki's watching. Everyone's watching. The world is watching this battle between Deku and Todoroki. It's one of the most anticipated ones. Everyone knows Deku's quirk. Everyone knows Todoroki's quirk. They're like, will Deku be the one to stop Todoroki? But there is a whole lot of baggage that goes within this. Like,
man,
oh my god, the baggage.
It's about to get a little personal.
We start.
Let me get my tissues.
I mean, I can continue to fly back before the sterile thing. Todoroki and Endeavor come face to face, and he's just like, "What do you want? What are you here?" And he's like, "I'm here because you need to start using that fire quirk, and you need to start using it now. You need to stop wasting your time and become the pretty much what I created you to be, which is this ice fire machine." And Todoroki resents that. I mean, first of all, they're both called Todoroki, but I'm just going to call one Todoroki and one Endeavor. But he resents that 100%, and he's just like, "Yo, I will never use your fire quirk. I will show you that I never need to use your fire quirk." And by all means, he has got through this tournament by turning everyone into a giant block of ice and ignoring that quirk. And then
I think Todoroki. Sorry to interrupt. But I think up to this point, Todoroki is, to me, or was one of the most interesting students in the whole series, because there was definitely something there. His look, alone, I think he has the best look to me of all of the kids. He's definitely in my top 3 most liked. But like, you're not expecting what you're gonna get from this episode at all.
No.
it kind of tells the story. We talk about a little bit of this last episode, but it kind of tells the story of like, yo, this is a kid who should have everything, right? His dad is the number 2 hero. He has incredibly powerful quirk. He actually had a quirk. Deku never had a quirk when growing up, so he had to grow up in a little bit of a much more. He thought his life was sad because he didn't have a quirk, but he's realizing now that look how sad this man's life. He's had a quirk. In fact, he was pretty much birthed for the sole purpose to have this exact quirk, and look how like kind of his life is. And then Endeavor and Deku have this, I wouldn't say altercation because it wasn't like a fight, like he's not throwing hands or anything, but they have this moment where they pass through the thing, and Endeavor wants Deku, who's like, listen, I want you to go all out. I need Todoroki to use his power. And Deku tells Endeavor, he was like, listen, Todoroki is not you. He is not you. It is his own quirk. It is everything of the sort. But nonetheless, it's not like Deku's like, yo, I'm not going to win this. I mean, eventually, I think he chooses eventually he would rather Todoroki continue to find himself than him win this battle. But I'm sure I'm not going to say he didn't want to win this battle because essentially he blows all his fucking limbs off.
Yeah, he wanted to win. He definitely wanted to win.
He did. And he also took inventory of the fact that he only has but so many chances to get the victory off. Like to this point, Deku is literally a one-trick pony. He only has one move. He only has one try, and that's what he tries to do. And with his, he's like, I'm going to use every single finger that I have. Yeah,
he on the ground. I mean, he told us the stakes, before the fight. We already knew what was going to happen, and that, like you said, Justin, there's only so many options I have to win this. So he definitely wanted to get the W, but not at the expense of breaking his shonen protagonist character, though.
Yeah.
Gotta help out, man. Gotta help out.
While Deku's quirk is being taken to the limit, Todoroki's quirk is almost taken to the limit. How many icicles can you actually make at this point and his body is beginning to like kind of freeze over a bit. And that's kind of what the Endeavor was kind of hinting at. He was like, you're going to need my quirk eventually.
Well, shout out Bakugou for the reference, the cross reference to the video games, the MP. He's like, man, maybe he used way too much. He's way too much ice, these previous rounds, and he's almost out.
He notices that he's reaching his limit, and he knows he needs to activate his fire side, but he refuses to activate his fire side. And then it kind of goes to a throwback of his grim childhood with his mother, and it's one of the saddest things that you see in this anime because the whole backstory of Endeavor pretty much buying his mother's family to be able to use his mother to have, to be able to produce a child with a quirk of fire and a quirk of ice to be able to become the number 1 hero is kind of grim, and it's kind of one of the darkest things. Yeah. And it's this entire the growing up of Shoto Todoroki with his father and seeing all the abuse. You see the moments where the kids are playing outside and Todoroki's just kind of watching them, and Endeavor walks up.
What did Endeavor say?
Come on. He's like, "Come on, let's go." I forgot what he says exactly.
He basically was like, "Don't worry about what them kids doing. I brought you into this world for something else." Basically, that's.
It's like you have a higher purpose or something along those lines. Like you just have something, and it's a sad childhood. He watches his mother be abused. It doesn't say physically. I don't think it's physically. It ends up being more.
He smacked her. He punched her.
Yeah, he did. He punched her. Her.
Whenever he was throwing up on the ground.
Yeah, he abused.
Really?
He Endeavor was an abusive piece of shit, and that's why I'm interested in season 4 because I'm like, how are they gonna rewrite this or try and make me feel sorry or any type of any type of good things about Endeavor with what I know? And I think you got to carry that for at least another season before we get to what I hear season 4 is like his coming out story.
Yeah, it's
right, 100%. But I mean, she's eventually put in the hospital. I think it's more so the hospital thing ends up being the mental abuse thing because she did throw boiling hot water on her own son because she can't stand to look at him because he had the same eyes as pretty much Endeavor had. And it's a sad thing, and having to go up through that. And it's one of the things about the show is like it explains it so realistically. If all these kids have their various problems, everyone has problems back home. Ochako wants to help her family, construction company and for it to be better. And Ida has his own things to kind of face at home with his brother and all this other stuff. And he has his own problems. And Bakugo, I mean, yet you haven't seen Bakugou's problems as of yet. I don't know. He's just maybe he's just an asshole.
The dialogue, Endeavor's dialogue to me is, you can tell that for whatever reason they were definitely trying to make sure that you're supposed to hate this man just by even when Todoroki asked him like where's mom, he goes he just oh yeah, I put her in a hospital because she tried to ruin my masterpiece, and that was the end of it. Like there was no like he didn't care. And I feel like when you're building a character's story and you want us to feel something for the character, that's how you do it. Nobody just says that like randomly and just moves on and says it so easily.
It's so weird because if you're watching the current part of, in terms of the current part of the actual manga where it reaches up to it, man, it's evolving into that full circle moment. And, I guess I don't want to do the spoilers all over the fact.
It's very hard to not spoil,
because he does,
he does come full circle.
Yeah, he essentially does come full circle. He eventually does. But with this, it's so emotionally charged, and everyone is going through things emotionally. And Deku's just trying to pry for Todoroki, like, this power is yours, and I'm going to continue to blow you up. So he's like using all of his limbs. He's using limbs over, so that means permanent damage. He's the broken limbs already. He's just exhausting them. We see he's like, oh my god, his arm is deep purple, and I'm like, oh shit, this guy.
Has this ever been done in an anime where like there is literally a hero that kills himself nearly every single time he uses powers? Like I can think of like Vampire Hunter D. He had a couple powers that would like drain him, but nothing to this effect.
Yeah, and even if there is something like that, there's always some way to get out of it. Like Dragon Ball makes sure they put the sensu bean or the actual Dragon Balls in general to make sure that that's never a problem. Right. But they do a good job here. Like obviously there is someone who does fix them. They have she has a quirk to heal people, but it does have its limits. So, and that's basically what they say here. It's like, hey, at this point we're getting to the point where she can't fix this,
and she refuses to. She doesn't want to anymore.
Well, yeah, that too. You're wearing her out,
right? Absolutely. I think there's an anime called Cannon Busters, that is where the main protagonist is like he dies and then he comes back to life. It's not the same thing. It just happens over and over, but it's really not the same thing. But in case someone wanted to check that out, it is a predominantly black anime, which is something, and it's on Netflix if you ever want to take a look at it. With that said, everything is emotionally charged until Todoroki says, finally, I'm going to activate this side, after Deku's like, it's your quirk, it is yours, use it, you make it your own. And Todoroki has all these flashbacks of like All Might on thing is like, oh, what your quirk is, what you make out of it, and all this other stuff, and he activates the fire quirk, and the hilarious laugh of Endeavor of just like, yes, haha,
finally walking down the stairs and shit. It's like, go back to your seat, dog. Like, what are you doing?
He's like, sir, you're blocking a fire exit.
What a dick, man. I was like,
dog, like, walking down the stairs, bro. Like, what are you doing?
And then Todoroki essentially begins to use, they're getting ready for the final blast, and even Cementos and Midnight are like, yo, they about to kill each other. Like, Deku's not going to quit, and he does not have much limbs left, and Todoroki looks like he's going in for the final kill, and because he's using all this power, so Cementos is like, should I step in? I think I'm going to step in.
Big budget time.
At the same time where essentially Todoroki lets off this incredible fusion of ice and fire, as is like his final major attack, and they do the slow-mo thing, and it's like, and it's like very incredible. Cool.
Staged in little blocks.
Yeah, and Deku from the other side, he's flying through. He's got 100%. He's got his free arm. He's like, yo, we're about to kill this right now, and he's like flying towards him. And Cementos in the middle is like, yo, I'm about to put up a black wall. This shit's about to be crazy. And he does. He puts up that block wall. It doesn't matter. There's an explosion. It knocks Midnight. My favorite part is Midnight just goes flying.
Yeah.
pretty much, and everyone is going flying. It's this massive explosion. It is the great big budget explosion that we've been looking for from this series. And at the end of it all, when the smoke clears, Deku is knocked completely out of the ring. Todoroki looks completely mangled from using this fire and ice. And it is over. Todoroki advances, Deku's done. And it's one of the most memorable fights of the anime thus far.
Yeah, I do think that, like, although this was obviously to build Todoroki's character, overall, but I do think that there's an underline of him and Deku's relationship getting even, better here, and them gaining even more respect for each other. Because if you look, I mean, when he saw Deku out of the ring, he couldn't believe it himself. He was just like, damn, like, this is that was it, huh? He really gave me everything, because that was, I'm exhausted myself. So yeah, that was really awesome, man. It was a really cool fight.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorites. I think that when you look at like Demon Slayer and you look at this, you got to put the budget back into the fights. Yeah. And I think that's super important. I really just a couple of like small things. Like I love the hollowed out black look that his fingers and his limbs get when he uses them. I love the charge of the power when he plucks and he uses his fingers to do things. I love just the effect that, like I said before, these are people that want to do everything to do good things. Deku is literally, again, a shonen trope, Jesus, Messiah complex, but he literally is sacrificing himself to be better. And I love that idea.
Yeah, 100%. And not even sacrificing him for to be better, but for the better of Todoroki too. Like ultimately Todoroki stands there and realizes, like, did you just do this to help me? And even All Might realizes, like, yo, he put his body on the line so Todoroki can kind of realize something about himself and kind of like get deeper. So he's ultimately helping him. And even at the end of, the rounds and stuff like that, he says something along the lines of, All Might, I see why you have this like affixation with like Deku and like who he is, because he's someone who like generally affects everyone around him and wants the best for everyone around him and pushes people to be better. And it's an admirable thing. It's admirable thing. Yes, but he's in the hospital now. He's completely thinged up. Recovery girl is like, All Might, you asshole. You need to make sure that he does not, he 100%, do not praise him for this. Do not praise him for breaking all of his limbs.
He needs to be so.
You guys need to figure out how to use his power without destroying his body, because I will not heal him again. And he at this point now, he has a scar on his arm that looks insane, and it's a scar that stays throughout the entire series. So if you think it's gone, like if it's like erased in a couple episodes, no, it's a scar that is.
Which I love, by the way. There's too much of like characters going through major fights and then
no scars.
Not having anything to call for. Like they're just fine, they move on. But the scars that he deals with, he has to do something about them, getting new costume, getting new pieces for the way he looks, just to benefit the fact that he destroyed his body so early on.
Yeah. The other battles, I mean, yes, of course, there are other battles in this tournament. Ida beats Shiozaki very politely. He's like, oh, let me push her out the ring. He like scurries her out the ring. Tokoyami defeats Ashido because Tokoyami is completely underrated. Bakugou defeats Kirishima. So we're right here now, and we're down to the semifinals of this tournament. Todoroki defeats Ida. Ida puts up a fight. I guess he uses his legs for more than running. He's like, oh, I can also use it to propel this kick or something along those lines.
Yeah. He has a really good plan. He has a really good plan against Todoroki as well. I think that when he uses, he spins around him and does I think there's the reciprocal burst. Yeah. That was a good plan, but again, like Todoroki, he just has so much more control over his quirk that it was too much.
Yeah, there's nothing kind of limiting him in a way that's so glaringly like Ida's quirk of like, I can use this, but then I stall out for 10 seconds. I stall out 10 seconds later, I'm not able to move anymore. And it's like, well, you need to fix that because honestly, it's not going to work out for you in the real life. People are going to, people are going to take advantage of that. And then Bakugo defeats Tokoyami pretty viciously. He's like fire around the bird, and Dark Shadow's like, I don't like light, and he's just continuing to take advantage of that. After pretty much learning it, he learns it, and this is another thing about Bakugo. He's like a student of the game. He's constantly watching, he's constantly observing, and he observes about Tokoyami, and he's like, how did you know this? And it's just like, because I'm Bakugo. What the fuck? Like, it is what it is. Before we hit the final round, Ida gets a call that he has to take. It is his brother. Something's up with his brother Tensai Ingenium, the hero, who he models himself at. He has been injured by the hero killer, and Ida has to leave the tournament.
Big stakes.
You know, I love a good foreshadow for a couple episodes, so we'll kind of leave it at there. But Ida does leave the tournament. It is incredibly grim. All the stuff. I mean, we'll talk about it after the final round because it happens all after the fact. But yeah, it gets incredibly grim. Final round: Todoroki, Bakugo, the main event.
Yeah,
one for one. It's the two strongest. It's the two people. Bakugo, you know, Todoroki almost overlooked Bakugo that we talked about in the first episode when he like approached Deku and had that talk with him. But now Todoroki is versus Bakugo, and Bakugo wants everything that Todoroki has, but Todoroki is so like emotionally checked out of this entire thing, and he's kind of confused, and he's kind of, you know, emotionally bruised, and he's kind of a whole bunch of other things that he's fighting. And
he's still thinking of what Deku said as well, and I think that has really resonated for him past their match.
Absolutely.
It is a fight that is, you know what? It's fair. He only uses his ice side, and he's like prompted to use his fire side. Bakugo's like, yo, I want the fire. I want to beat you at your best. I want to whoop your ass. 100% of you. I don't want 50% of you. I want 100%. And he's using all these techniques, and Bakugo's really king. He's like, oh, I saved this shit one for the end because I wasn't going to use it on these scrubs. And Todoroki's like, he begins to use his fire side, and Bakugo gets fired up, and then Todoroki is just like, nah, I don't think I'm there yet. Like, I don't think I'm there with using my fire side anymore. As he looks up at his father and the thing, he's like, I just can't. And Bakugo takes advantage of it, unknowing to himself. He does that little spin whirly missile jazz. Great effects. They use a little bit less of the great effects.
No budget left.
Yeah, and he knocks out Todoroki, and Bakugo is the winner, and Bakugo is heated. He is pissed. He is angry. He is feral. I don't know. Like, he is so mad that he just didn't get the best of Todoroki. He doesn't feel like he can call himself the top guy in this tournament because he didn't get to face all that he was. And it's sad. There's this moment, obviously, they do the sort of metal thing. All Might talks to Tokoyami, and I was like, yo, you gotta learn how to use your quirk better. Like, this one trick pony thing, like, your quirk is cool, but, you know, figure out some new techniques. You maybe throw a punch or a kick in or something.
Yeah.
He relies on that shit way too much. I said it before. Like, he just relies on it, man.
Yeah, he kind of just stands there.
And I get why he would be a little bit disappointed, and I think that's the theme for Bakugo, right? It's that he always gets the sloppy seconds. He could win, and it's still not really a victory for him because what Todoroki got the most out of was the battle with Deku. It wasn't the battle with him. It's once again Deku taking his moment.
Yeah, he was definitely thinking about that shit.
No, you're 100% right. Bakugo's pit, like the point where All Might walks up to him and is like, ugh. Well,
they had to knock his ass out.
Look at his eyes, it's crazy. And it's like, you know, young Bakugo, he's trying to do the spiel. He's trying to, you know, play it up for the public and for the cameras. Like, you got great spunk and you got something, and he's just looking at it. It's like, look at his eyes. It's so insane. Like, what the fuck? But with that said, Bakugo first place. Second place, Todoroki. Third place, I think it's tied between Ida and Tokoyami. And that is the sports festival of the breakdown of, I guess, the sports festival, how it all shakes down. After this, they're supposed to be drafted by various work agencies, and we'll see what comes in all after the fact. kind of in an epilogue after this, Ida finds out his brother has been seriously injured, like injured. Like, wow, he is in the hospital, and Ida just can't take it. It's one of the first times actually I realized the eyebrow thing that they have.
Yeah.
The arrows, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Imagine if I cut my eyebrows like that. That'd be wild.
Oh, do it.
Don't do it.
No. Are you insane? I live in New York. What the fuck?
Three cuts in your eyebrows trying to wild out. Hey.
Oh my god. Ida's brother seriously injured. He's by his hospital bed. Everyone's kind of wishing the best for Ida. Even Deku in that moment. Even as Deku is like, his whole body's taped up. He's like, I hope Ida's okay.
Right. It's like, boy, think about yourself, nigga.
And Todoroki, he goes, sees his mother, and it's for the first time in a long time, but he feels kind of like he needs his mother's approval, support, and a little bit of closure before he really decides to maybe embark on this, this journey. He can't be the number one hero if he doesn't use all of his quirk. He can't say that he tried his best in saving people if he doesn't use the entire quirk that's kind of given to him. So I think he's struggling with this thing internally of like, I need to be able to save people. I need to do all that I can to save people. But my fire side is such a contentious point for all of this. But I need to go see my mother. I need to ask her. I need to talk to her because she is just as wrapped up in this as my dad is. And, I mean, what a layered ass story, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's super deep. These kids go through a lot, and I think that it's really dope that Todoroki, he's the number one hero in my eyes. Let's just be clear. But he goes through a lot, and it really means a lot that we get the familial aspect from all of these guys, whether it be Deku's mother, Ochaka's mother and father, or anything. Like, these people, like they go through a lot of mental, physical, and emotional strife, and I think that's, again, something that you don't see. Like, not everything is about Deku, and I think that's another reason why I really like this anime. You see it definitely here.
That's real.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's kind of where we'll end this year in terms of the sports festival arc. We hit the final part. We wrapped it up. We've gone through all the students. I think this has just been a great arc, just in general, to get you familiar with more people. Because ultimately, I feel like season one, while, yeah, there are students, but it's about Deku. This one kind of shone a light on, like, oh, now I see what the quirks is. Now I get more thing with the personalities, all these other things like that. And, it's a continued great show. And I think it's going to continue to heat up. They've got great momentum. Next episode, we're getting into, honestly, one of my favorite arcs just because of how it's such a game changer for the entire series. Like, it legitimately influences everything. It influences, and this is, I mean, it's something that animes don't do. Like, they don't have a singular moment that is really carried out throughout the rest of the anime. It kind of feels like the anime just starts like here. You know what I'm saying? Like this, like the stakes, the heroes, and all this stuff. Like, we just spent all this time building up and providing context for a lot of things, but now everything kind of starts here. So it's one of my favorite episodes. Next time, we will definitely be going over the Stain kind of arc thing. So make sure you stay tuned for everything on the lookout. We want to, of course, thank OG Johnny 5, Justin Davis, for joining us on this episode.
Once again, I love talking the nuts and bolts and the background stuff of My Hero. I think it's a really intriguing and fascinating, honestly, anime. And it got me back into it. So, I mean, I'm watching Castlevania now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know that's not like traditional anime, but I love the game. So
yeah, absolutely.
No, I feel you. We got to get you into The Promised Neverland. I want to hear your take.
What? All right. What? What is that?
I just feel like when I say this, like, it's about kids, and they're basically being groomed to be eaten by demons in an orphanage. But it's graphic. It's deep.
I think it's up your alley. Believe it or not, I think it's up your alley.
Yeah, I think.
But this is the opposite effect that we did with the My Hero thing. So maybe it's not up your alley, and maybe you will dislike it. And
yeah.
I'm hoping I do, so I don't have another show to watch.
It's an interesting show. It'll leave you on your seat for, I guess the first season. I think the first season was maybe like 12 or 14 episodes only. Yeah, it's not very long, so you're able to. I will characterize it less of an anime, more of a psychological thriller. I guess a psychological thriller anime.
It's not like Tokyo Ghoul horror or anything, but like it has its moments where it's just very like the music will kind of calm down and it's like like very quiet place, just like yeah.
Because I'm real close to like touching on some of these old Gundam seasons and stuff like that. Like that's where that's how deep quarantine's gotten in month 3.
I was talking to Jamal about Gundam and like how it's disrespected a bit because it is very adult, and it came up in our time where I don't think it was difficult to understand. Like as kids, we just thought it looked cool visually, but it was hard to understand. So I would say check it out again for sure.
But yeah, thank you for having me on the show. Please bring me back more. I love this discourse. I love it.
Of course. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys. Of course, you can follow at the Lookout RNC on Twitter. You can follow also RNC Radio Live on Twitter for all updates on RNC Radio Podcast. You can listen to more stuff that Jeff is on and more stuff that I am on, quite honestly. And more stuff that Justin is on, because between all three of us, I think we do maybe like 9 podcasts.
Yeah.
So you can definitely listen to that. Make sure you stay tuned to the page all throughout the week. I mean, the Pokemon DLC is coming up, so we'll have some stuff during that and a couple other things. First of all, I want to say it's the season finale. Seasons of words. It is one of the,
I guess, right?
Yeah, of Mount Silver. It is out by now. We've done the league. We've wrapped it up. Only thing that we can talk about thus far is whatever happens in the DLC. So if it's really good, we'll talk about it. But I'll say this at this point: the Mount Silver, we've wrapped it up. It is a great box. It is completely bingeable if you want to go through the first 8 gyms of Kanto. So make sure you listen to that. And
we might as well keep an episode on Chase the Beans. We might as well.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, Big Eyes podcast every week, every Thursday, manga, all the other good stuff like that. Once again, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.